Mike?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Adrian, will you lead us in a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're dedicating this meeting to the Spark Park volunteers. I know I've said this on posts and stuff, but I truly don't have the words to express my gratitude and my utter joy. I beg your pardon?
Magical.
Magical, right. It was a magical 10 days. The amount, I'll start, and I promise I won't name everybody who participated, but I will start with the three Graces, Julia, Lorelei, and Lauren. Without their leadership, it wouldn't have happened. The amount of the year's worth of work that went into pulling everything together, the 40 million details that had to be attended to, it just simply wouldn't have happened. And for those people who experienced the same unbelievably uplifting, heart-building experience 40 years ago, you know what we're talking about. And I need to call out, and again, forgive me if I forget some names, but Ed Zick, Arlene Christensen, Rita Mary, Laura Gilhooly, people, Roger Dalton,
Mark Williams,
you can
John
say
Shanley. There were a lot of people that were at the original build that came back, and it was really wonderful to see.
So they got the experience twice, like separated by 40 or so years.
34, 33.
Correct. So, and then just the team leaders were out there 12 hours a day, and I will miss, and I have to, I'm sorry to call out anybody, but Tim Gifford gets the Everenny Bunny Award. He never stopped. He never stopped. If we had tried to pull him off the auger, he would have punched us. And I think I have made it clear that we had to. We didn't know that the ground was solid rock, and we didn't have the benefit of Central Hudson coming in and augering all the holes. So the first 2 days, which happened before the start of the park, were truly hellacious. And many of us were in the holes throwing rocks out. But it came together, and we did it. And I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude and amazement that we did it, and we all did it. And at the end, we had a picture taken by Mark. And
Michael Churton?
By Michael Churton, where we got maybe 200 volunteers up on the structure. It did not collapse, and the kids were all down at the bottom, and they made a poster. We had food 3 times a day. We did have childcare. We had tool people. We had what else did we have?
We had donated porta potties. We had donated crane. We had 3 trucks of concrete. We had donated time from local business people and their crews and all of their equipment, like no questions asked. It was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. I joked that I had like a bat phone, and if I just picked up the phone and said it's Julia from the playground, anyone would do anything I asked them to do.
True.
And it's kind of true. There's nothing like that experience, and so just thank you to everybody who supported, and everybody did, and that's what was remarkable. Every single person did.
And people came from other towns. I mean, it was just, it was awesome. And we will have we had a soft opening on Saturday. The kids went crazy. The zip line had a line out the door.
They're still going crazy. I have to put it, do not bring your dog into the park, into the playground sign, unfortunately, because there were some gifts that were left.
Oh, gifts, nice. But we will have a formal opening, a ribbon cutting of some sort, June 28th.
June 28th. We're going to meet
So
tomorrow on it.
We will, anyway, so we, stay tuned for that. And the other thing I want to do tonight is to congratulate Jeff Spears, who has been on the Stanford Fire Company for 50 years. I was honored to be invited to go to the fire company dinner where people were honored for service. And Jeff was up there for his 50 years, as was Bob Stram. But Jeff kind of came second, and Bob had all of the declarations read for him, and then Jeff got an attaboy afterwards. And I just feel like Jeff deserves a little bit more than an attaboy. He joined in 1974 when he was 18 years old, and he's still active. He was a rescue squad leader, he was a first lieutenant, he was a captain of the company, he was a second lieutenant, he was assistant chief, he was EMT, he's a CPR instructor. This man has given lifeblood to our community, and I would like to read a proclamation from Michelle Hinchy honoring Jeffrey R. Spears.
Senator Tim Scott is embarrassing himself.
I am not embarrassing myself.
Tim Scott.
Tim Scott,
Okay.
Not
from
you.
South Carolina.
I won't say a word about that. So this is honoring Jeff Spears upon earning 50 years of dedicated service with the Stanford Fire Company #1 in 2024. Whereas it is the duty of this senator to recognize those individuals who have served our region bravely and devoted decades of their lives to doing so, and whereas volunteer firefighters exemplify the power of human compassion and the strength of the American spirit through actions of the most heroic magnitude. Their sacrifices and their selfless dedication merit tribute and recognition by all citizens of this great country. And whereas, attendant to such a goal, this senator is proud to honor Jeffrey R. Spears upon achieving 50 years of service to Stanford Fire Company #1, and to recognize his remarkable dedication to the people of Stanford. And whereas Jeffrey R. Spears is an honorable public servant and first responder and works tirelessly on behalf of the Stanford Fire Company as a longtime volunteer firefighter, consistently using his expertise and position of responsibility to save lives and act as a role model and mentor to those around him. And whereas volunteer firefighters like Jeffrey Spears exemplify the very best in our upstate towns, cities, and hamlets. It takes a special dedication, a strong desire to help others, and a deep sense of community to forsake precious time with family and friends to respond to the signal that a neighbor is in need. And whereas firefighters unwaveringly serve our great state with pride, valor, and integrity, these respected volunteers are often the first to respond to an emergency, whether the emergency is a fire, transportation, accident, natural disaster, act of terrorism, medical crisis, or spill of hazardous materials. And whereas, beginning in 1974 and over the course of the last 5 decades, Jeff Spears have left a lasting impression not only on those he has helped and saved, but on every person who has volunteered beside him. And in doing so, built a reputation of compassion, integrity, and empathy. Now, therefore be it proclaimed that I, New York State Senator Michelle Hinchy, honor Jeffrey R. Spears for his inspiring commitment to his community, state, and country for 5 decades of service with the Stanford Fire Company. And be it further proclaimed that a copy of this proclamation suitably engraved be transmitted to him at the Stanford Fire Company #1 annual installation dinner. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand in signature. So, thank you, Jeff, if you're watching. Okay. Rita.
Wendy Burton,
Here.
Julie Dakota,
Here.
Eric Ames,
Present.
Nathan LaBertia,
Here.
Teddy Secord.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the change that the Climate Smart Task Force will be presenting in July.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Reports and financials. Julia?
So the CAC met at the mid-end of April. They recapped that they cleaned up 49 miles of roads during the roadside cleanup, which was awesome. They did a quick National Resources Inventory update where the preliminary findings were that a lot of protected wetlands have been destroyed. Those were sort of some of the first findings. There was a request for a comprehensive list of environmental concerns that sort of the town has cohesively. So there was a follow-up on that in terms of coming back to it. And then there was an update on the Dutchess Land Conservancy at the Gary Lovett Preserve cleanup on June 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. And so they met last week to discuss that, and they urge there's going to start to be social media and email around that.
Nathan?
The Recreation Commission is not meeting, or has not met this week. They'll meet next week, I think. Sorry. The Recreation Commission has not met this week. They will meet next week, but I think everyone knows they've kind of been a little bit busy at the moment. I do have an update regarding the letter that was read into record in March. We sent a letter to the Department of Transportation. The regional director, Lance McMillan, responded, and I'm going to read that into the record. Dear Supervisor Burton, honorable members of the Stanford Town Board, Supervisor Walsh, and Legislator Drago, thank you for your letter regarding the condition of State Route 82 from State Route 82 from State Route 84 to State Route 199 in Dutchess County. The New York State Department of Transportation strives to maintain the state highway system in the best possible condition. The safety of the traveling public is always our top priority. The DOT maintenance crews work to address potholes as they develop, filling over 1 million potholes across the state annually. Additionally, these crews perform snow and ice control, guardrail replacement, inspect and clear drainage systems, and litter removal. Potholes are formed from various environmental and physical factors. First, rainwater infiltrates the pavement through cracks in the roadway surface. Cold weather causes the infiltrated water to freeze, creating a bulge in the pavement and expanding the existing crack openings. When the temperature warms above freezing, the pavement surface returns to its original level. This repeated freeze-thaw cycle weakens and degrades the pavement material. Eventually, and in combination with heavy traffic loading, the weakened material fractures and separates from the roadway. Although State Route 82 from State Route 44 to State Route 199 in Dutchess County is not on the DOT capital program, the Dutchess County Maintenance Facility has been advised of your concern to make the necessary repairs. Additionally, we will continue to monitor this roadway and conduct maintenance as needed. Thank you for your interest and support for the transportation system. If you have any further questions or need additional information, and they provided contact information.
So it was a big nothing.
Well, I mean, the one thing is that they did alert the Dutchess County. So
Is there a name we can follow up with them to say we know how potholes get done?
there is, so the number on here is for the Regional Planning and Program Management Group. And the phone number is 845-431-5723. And the regional director's name is Lance McMillan.
Well, maybe we should follow up with Lance, see if that.
We can always have an invitation to come check out our playground. And
He
see
can
if
be on
wants
the
to come on
grand
82
opening.
to get over
Yeah,
here.
drive up on it. Okay. Thank you, Nathan.
Sure.
Eric?
Yes, the planning board did not meet in April, so I have no report.
How many times have you
I
been
was
able
going to
to
say,
say that?
that's
This
a
is like.
reoccurring theme.
No, the last month I had a report.
You did.
They did, yes.
I remember that.
They met in March.
Eddie?
Yes, so last night, the CSC met. We went over three things very briefly. tonight would have been the Climate Smart Community Task Force presentation that Nate Kimball would have given regarding certain, the presentation is about hazardous weather and greenhouse gas inventory, which those will be presented next month, so.
No, they'll be presented in July.
Oh, okay, not June, July. They will be presented in July. The three things we did discuss in detail, though, we are planning for Community Day. We will have a booth there pretty much alongside the CAC again. We are planning on activities for children and children who are older than 5 years old, so anybody can paint a pot if they want to. But if you have any ideas, please feel free to let me or any member you may know what interests you. We're still investigating the composting program. We decided that we are going to conduct a survey alongside the CAC, and we will take public opinion on various states. That is going to be constructed soon and decided upon. And the last thing we discussed was moving forward with the recording of actions that the town of Stanford has taken in completing our environmental task sheet, our CSE task sheet, which there's actions that we're already doing, and the town actually has, from our assessment last year, we've actually made some really good progress even before we started the program. So we're well on our way to doing some great things, and we could have access to grants to do projects in the future, but we're not to that step yet, so we'll see. After that, last night was also the ZBA meeting. They met, went into executive session, left executive session, and no decision was made regarding the matter of the executive session last night. And that's all I have to report on.
Okay, thank you, Teddy. My report, I sent out 2 payroll verification sheets and the supervisor's report and bank reconciliation. We have no budget line adjustments to be made this month. I went to a fire commissioner meeting on April 16th. The fire company has been taking extraction, like from car crash extraction classes, and they've had their physicals. The greatest concern, and this is a concern to every person in this room, every person in our town, and every person all over, not only New York State, but the United States, is that the federal government, it comes from the federal government and it comes from OSHA, which is considering imposing much more strident and costly training for our volunteer fire company and equipment, which would in reality make it impossible for the volunteer fire company to continue. They couldn't afford it. And not only could our company not afford it, no fire companies could afford it.
Wow.
It's really draconian, and though, like from up here, you could say, well, they're just trying to take care of safety concerns. It's, our fire company already operates at a very, very high level with safety concerns and with training. So there's a huge lobbying effort underway coming from the National Fire Protection Association, as well as many other organizations. I met with the Association of Towns, one of the deputy director 2 nights ago, and AOT is lobbying for this not to happen. And
The AOT is the Association of Towns.
Which represents 933 towns in our state, and this is happening in all states. And they're also preparing a letter for towns to send in to OSHA in protest. So we will be sending in a letter. They've extended one piece of good news is OSHA extended the comment period into June 21st, and at first it was a really abbreviated comment period. And because OSHA is regulatory, it's not controlled by the legislature. It's not like our senators can stop it. All we can do is try to have them understand how devastating this would be. So that's like the big red flag that we're dealing with right now. The zoning commission met, and Tom Angel brought forth proposed code amendment regarding duplexes and accessory dwelling units, which we will discuss next month. We said in the comprehensive plan that we wanted to make ADUs much more accessible. We wanted to take away the family requirements, and we didn't want them to, we wanted to expand the kind of buildings that could be made into dwelling units. And that was basically the first issue that we've tried to tackle in the zoning commission. We had a fabulous meeting, which I spoke about last month, with the county planners, who were very, very helpful, made suggestions to us, which basically ended up in Tom's draft. And I really don't want to go into I can go into some detail, but I don't want to confuse anybody, which I might do if I just try to give you a little capsule version. It involves redefining what a duplex is, which now, okay, I'm not going to go into the details. But we voted unanimously to move forward with this and take it to the town board. So the 7 members of the zoning commission felt that this is a huge problem, additional housing. It's not just a problem for Stanford, it's a problem all over the country. But we felt that this was at least a step we could take. Will it solve having housing that's affordable? No. Will it perhaps make it easier to have a second dwelling unit? Yes. The biggest guard on that is going to be the health department. We'll have to approve that there's sufficient sewer and water, and that's not a small issue. And we're actually meeting with the health department this month to talk about alternative sewer. Are there less expensive and more, Jesus, I'm losing words. Yeah, well, and also just more efficient for small units. Are there easier ways that we can provide safe sewer and keep it separated from our water without it being quite the ordeal that it is right now? Because other counties are starting to approve alternative methods. So we're having that meeting this month. And just coincidentally, as part of the budget, the governor's budget, there is a piece of legislation on ADUs that gives municipalities the option of offering real property tax exemption for ADUs and includes ADUs in the definition of housing accommodation under executive law, blah, blah, blah. So that may be a little side benefit that we get to reap. This just came out in the budget that was just passed. A swap shed is being delivered to the transfer station next week. We bought this with American Rescue Plan funds from Bayhorse. And they gave us a nice discount, and they're delivering it for free. And the highway department has created a pad for it. It's a 10 by 12 shed. We will put out some guidelines because we don't want you to bring your stuff that we actually really should be throwing into the trash. We want real things that other people could take home and say, wow, this toaster oven actually works. And we're going to set up some tables. There's also, there is shelving material. There's wood, plastic wood still available down at the at Spark Park. So if we decide, if someone gets ambitious and wants to build some shelves for the shed, that can be done. Anyway, it's coming next week. And finally, Carl Merritt continues to work with the Sheriff's Department, and I believe is having speed monitors placed on Haight Hill and Jameson Hill roads this week for a while. He's our contact person. I know that speeding continues to be an issue. I've also asked the troopers to check in. Right now, I asked them to check in on Haight Hill because they can't be everywhere, but they were very mindful of what's going on with our continuing closures. So I feel like that was a positive step. That's what I have to report. So I'd like to open privilege of the floor. I will say just in advance, I am very aware of a lot of upset in this town, and I would just ask you to keep this civil. I know people are upset, and that's why we have privilege of the floor, so you can speak your minds. But let's continue in the vein that we have for the past 4 years, and just try to keep it, not try to keep it, let's keep it civil. So, raise your hand, we'll call on you, just tell Rita your name and address. And Rita, what's the report on the Purple Hearts?
Oh, I found 3 more.
So how many have we found?
7.
Yes.
Only 1 to go on.
Oh.
But 6 are still.
And didn't Kathy Spears?
Kathy helped me find the 3 more.
That's great. She's going through the cemetery books.
James Hewer is.
He's the only.
Oh, yes.
God.
Stacy.
3 minutes, you can remind me.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Does that stay?
Stacy, you can put all that
I
stuff,
feel like I'm playing Twister over here and losing.
put it on the floor, not the mic, the stuff, if it's in your way.
I can do this. Hold on.
You're gonna do it, Stacy.
My name is Stacy Adams. I live at 69 Millis Lane. I just am coming to you on behalf of the Board of Assessment Review, which meets this month. By now, can you guys hear me? Mm-hmm. So I can just hold this?
Yeah.
By now, if you have not, you should have received a letter from the assessor. They go out in late April, and you should have gotten one. If you haven't, you can get in touch with the assessor. It's your new assessment for this year. The Board of Assessment Review meets on May 28th. That's the 4th Tuesday of this month. They have 2 sessions from 1 to 3 in the afternoon and again from 7 to 9 in the evening. The purpose of the Board of Assessment Review is it's your opportunity to grieve your assessment. If you feel like you have a problem with your current assessment, this is the place that you want to go. However, you do have a couple of other options prior to May 28th if you cannot make that date, or if you have a fear of showing up and standing and talking in front of a group of people who will also be sitting just like this at this table. So I would recommend that as a first line of defense, you go either and make an appointment with Steve Godovich, our town assessor, to discuss it with him individually, or you can just pop in during his office hours. He's like till, what, do you know what his office hours are?
3:30.
Till
He usually
3:30.
gets in around 1
Okay.
till 3:30.
Yeah.
Typically, I mean, so you can call ahead of time just to see, so you use your time efficiently. But anyway, he's very approachable, and he will absolutely work with you in his office. What that means is if you and he meet prior to May 28th and you come to an agreement, he will bring that agreement on your behalf to the Board of Assessment Review. You do not have to come, and the board can then make an evaluation on that. But let's just say that you want the excitement of coming to Assessment Review Day. I would offer you the chance to look at the town website. There is a page for the Board of Assessment Review, and there is very specific, detailed information on what you would want to do to have a successful grievance filed with the board. And I will cheat here and just say, please do not show up with your assessment and say, I would like to grieve this. That's not the information that the board can use to adequately make a determination, hopefully positive. They need, more detailed information, and it is all outlined on that page. So that's your PSA for today on the Board of Assessment Review for May 28th. Who can I pass this to, please?
Stacy, can I ask you something? I got, you may not know the answer to this, but I got a text saying that the phone number on the assessment letter that went out is wrong.
So let's see, the phone number, so this is dear property owner, blah, 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 and
I should have asked Steve, I'm sorry.
Should have-
It's incorrectly listed as 7027, 868-7027. it should be the main number, 868-1310.
Yeah.
Option 7.
So on your, so your letter, sorry, I'm probably coming like way over my allotted time. So the letter that you got should be a letter that looks like this. This is just the basic like, hey, we read it, this is your assessment for the year. And then attached to it is the actual assessment for your specific property. At the very bottom, I would point to it, but at the very bottom of the letter is where the phone number is listed correctly with the town hall and the extension.
And I will keep listing that.
And thank you so much.
I will
Since I
keep-
saw you on Monday,
Yeah.
it was great, and we talked about it. Thank you for putting that in
And the website is
there.
up again, so, yeah. But I will also put the right number.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Yes, Adrian.
Maybe it'll stay for you.
Well, if you take those papers off,
Oh, no, it's good.
okay.
I'm just going to stand back. Hi, Adrian Zetterberg, 16 Bengal Amenia Road. I just wanted to request that the town board workshops and the zoning commission meetings be recorded, because it's something I'm interested in, and I can't always make it, so that's all.
I don't know, we'll have to talk about it. None of that, it's $300 every,
No, I understand, just a request.
but, what was the other one, the zoning commission?
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have minutes, at least from the zoning commission. They don't get posted until, there's a draft, just like all of the committees.
Sure.
They get posted till after the next meeting when we approve them. But we seriously haven't budgeted for that, so I'm not sure what.
Okay, that's all.
But it's a good point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Angela Christian at 166 Charwell Drive. And I want to take a moment to speak to my experiences in regards to the commercial business operating at 158 Charwell Drive. I want to talk tonight about the lost sense of peace and safety. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm a little out of breath. There's a commercial level of sound that exceeds that of the adjacent road. There are Rathjen's landscaping trucks coming and going all hours of the day. There are heavy equipment sounds frequently occurring throughout the day as well, which inhibits us from enjoying our property. Construction's the sound I wake up to, a sound only amplified when I open my windows first thing in the morning, as the sound that drowns out weekend playdates and weeknight kickball games. It's a topic of conversation over the dinner table many nights, and speaking at tonight's meeting will probably take the place of our last date night before this baby comes. Our home is supposed to be our place of peace, and our peace is gone. In addition to the clearly commercial landscaping, hardscaping, snow clearing, and material storage operations, there's this pretense that there's also a nursery operating on the property. A nursery that's simultaneously large enough to be the reason for all the sound, vehicles, bulk material storage, and running of heavy equipment that occurs all day long and is still small enough to be considered only an accessory use. How's that possible? How could it genuinely fit the bill of being both things? When I search the Ag and Markets website, I don't see any nurseries registered at 158 Charwell Drive. And when I Google it, the only thing I see listed is Rathjen's Landscaping. And that makes me question the transparency of the whole situation. If the latest description of the property can be relied upon, that this property is a nursery, it poses some serious health concerns. According to a 2011 record-based case-controlled study published in Science Direct titled Residential Proximity to Plant Nurseries and the Risk of Childhood Leukemia, there was reported to be about threefold increase in risk for ALL, which is acute lymphocytic leukemia, observed among children in very close proximity, 75 meters or less, to outdoor plant nurseries. And as a point of reference, the yard where my children play is 60 meters from their nursery area. This article brings me to a story I wanted to share tonight. A couple of months ago, 2 of my young children caught hand, foot, and mouth, or Coxsackie. And in the case of my 17-month-old, it presented with a petechia rash, which was a strange symptom, so I Googled it. And as it turns out, petechia is a common symptom of leukemia. And the reality is that when I rushed my 18-month-old to the pediatrician and waited to find out what his complete blood count results were, we were nearly 3 times more likely to find out that he had cancer than anybody that had the chance to choose not to live next to a nursery. Imagine the sense of safety that was ripped from my family that day and continues to be taken from us day after day through no fault of our own. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Travis Christian, 166 Charwell Drive. I have a follow-up to what Angela just said. Microphone? Yep. All right.
And I just want to remind everybody to try to keep to 3 minutes.
Yep, for sure. So I'm extremely proud of Angela for bravely coming here tonight and speaking from the heart. It's not an easy thing to do. It's really a travesty to the mother of 4 young children who is 8 months pregnant, with her 5th, has to come here and speak at all. It's unconscionable that she has had to deal with the psychological effects, the reduction in enjoyment of our property, and the safety concerns that she described. We moved to Charwell Drive because it was a quiet, dead-end road where we could raise our family. Our home was supposed to be our sanctuary, and honestly, that has been ruined. The environment is like living next to a perpetual construction site with heavy equipment running consistently at all hours of the day, heavy trucks coming and going, excessive noise, safety concerns, equipment, raw hardscaping, landscaping, and snow plowing materials all stored, as Angela said, less than 70 meters from our children's trampoline. To date, the ZBA has let Angela and I down. Under no circumstances should a snow plowing, snow clearing, landscaping, hardscape material storage facility, and nursery business at the scale of Rathjen's Landscaping be allowed to operate in a residential zone on a quiet cul-de-sac street of about 25 houses. It really defies the zoning code that restricts usage to a single principal use in residential zones. It violates multiple use standards, violates noise standards, has changed the character of the neighborhood, has reduced my property's value by 10%, has inhibited the enjoyment of our property. It should be obvious to the ZBA and anyone that is familiar with the scale of the business, anyone that reviews the property, the equipment stored therein, the number of employees, that it clearly violates all the standards that I just mentioned. It clearly doesn't meet the accessory use requirements, as I mentioned in the last town meeting. You can look at these Google Earth screenshots, and you can see alone that the size and scale of the landscaping business there far exceeds anything else on the street. So it's clearly not an accessory use. You can see in that screenshot, you can see hardscape material storage containers, large commercial equipment, truck storage containers, a tent used to store road salt, a shed that has a diesel tank, 4 trucks and trailers, and a massive 1,600 square foot garage that's almost as big as my house. And it is bigger than a few other houses on the street, which again doesn't meet the standards for accessory use. So the ZBA and the building inspector, they just have to put a stop to the business usage occurring at 158 Charwell Drive. Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is...
You can lower it a little.
Lower it?
There you go.
It's going to fall on me. My name is Kathy Stanley, and I live at 102 Fancourt Road in the town of Stanford. Honorable members, I am submitting this letter of complaint to you regarding the very large commercial landscaping business being run from Ben Rathjen's residence at 158 Charwell Drive. This is being done in a neighborhood that is zoned rural residential. Therefore, it is illegal and must be addressed. Please enter this letter into the minutes of your meeting tonight. I am also submitting a list of more than 2 weeks of some of Ben Rathjen's commercial business-related trucking and equipment traffic through our neighborhood. I request that it be entered into the minutes of this meeting. It is painfully obvious that Ben Rathjen is running a full-blown commercial landscaping business from his residential property. That is not permitted in our rural residential neighborhood, yet it is going on day after day. Just witnessing the sheer number of trucks and equipment that go to and from 158 Charwell Drive daily to his landscaping jobs testifies to that fact. From my list of just some of this for a few weeks, here is my record of just one day. All come and go to 158. On 4/30/2024, a Tuesday, 6:29, Rathjen dump truck left 158. 7:24, 2 more Rathjen dump trucks left 158. 7:31, Rathjen's dump truck hauling long Rathjen landscaping van left 158. Did I say 7:30? That was 7:31. 7:38, Rathjen dump truck left 158. 9:47, Rathjen dump truck left 158. 11:44, Rathjen dump truck back to 158. 12:03, Rathjen dump truck left 158. 1:47, Rathjen dump truck back to 158. 3:26, Rathjen dump truck hauling backhoe on flatbed left from 158. 3:44, Rathjen's truck hauling long Rathjen landscaping van to 158. 4:55, Rathjen truck hauling flatbed with backhoe on it to 158. 5:08, Rathjen truck hauling flatbed with front loader on it to 158. It goes on all day long. I will submit some photos, excuse me, of the trucks given to me by Travis Christian to further illustrate just some of what we are being subjected to. In the Article 78 decision, the judge said that the claim of landscaping being part of the nursery was beyond the ZBA appellate authority and should be annulled. It would constitute a third use of Rathjen's property. He didn't say that, I said that, because that's what it would do. Therefore, it seems that it should have been addressed by now. Neighborhood property owners should not have to wage a battle over this when it has been clearly stated by the judge. Furthermore, our roads are not constructed.
I apologize, but that's 3 minutes.
Can I take my husband's 3?
No, we actually don't do that.
Oh, I thought you said,
We
Okay.
don't do that.
Why don't we hear her out?
I'm sorry?
Why don't we hear her out as a
If she,
person?
because we don't do that, and either.
oh,
her
okay, I
husband-
thought you
her
had said there were 3.
Yeah, Kathy, thank you, and if your husband wants to
Continue and read
speak,
it?
he can speak.
Oh, he can.
Or you can speak, as I said to you, you can speak at the end of the meeting, but it's 3 minutes.
So could he continue, is that it?
He can be called on and he can speak.
Oh, you know, I'll finish at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
Okay, that would be fine.
thank you.
Good evening, fellow residents. My name is James King, and I reside at 176 Charwell Drive, one house away from the large, noisy, illegal landscape construction company being operated as Rathjen Landscaping. I'm sure you all received your latest property assessment lately. Well, I got mine too. My property was devalued 10% because of its proximity to this landscaping company. Not right. This large commercial construction company located in a residential area is just wrong in so many ways. Morally, ethically, and financially. Ben Rathjen purchased this property knowing full well it was residential, but blatantly went ahead, created a large commercial contractor's yard, and operates his construction company from there seemingly with impunity, forever changing and destroying the quiet, bucolic nature of our neighborhood with no respect for his neighbors. After complaints were made, Ben Rathjen, in anticipation of problems, I am sure, applied for and was appointed to the ZBA. This is after complaints were made, of which he is still a member. His association friendships formed with fellow ZBA members make it impossible for the ZBA to objectively make a decision concerning this property. At the July 14th, 2021 meeting of the ZBA, I was told my complaints about this commercial activity were not within the purview of the ZBA, and they could do nothing. The ZBA only handles variances, and I should gather more information and perhaps see the town board, which I have done several times. I can't get these pages apart. Financially, Ben Rathberg's businesses are more or less being subsidized by all of us in this room. How? By not requiring him to pay any commercial taxes on property he would otherwise have to rent to store his equipment, supplies, etc. The town has so far paid over $30,000 in legal fees defending Ben Rathburn's, quote, horticultural, unquote, endeavor, with more expense to come, and allowing him to expand his operation during this litigation. If you look at Google Earth and the online advertisements for Action Landscaping, you can understand the size and scope of this operation. It's not a mom and pop operation. It should be shut down and dismantled. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to clarify one thing. The attorney's fees, the town by law is bound to provide counsel during an Article 78 for any committee that is a town committee, which meant the ZBA, during the Article 78, as well as our building inspector, who is named in the Article 78 action. We were not defending Ben Rathburn. That's all.
If anybody else who spoke would like to give me their letter, I'll gladly take it.
Hi, Betty Cosgrove, 186 Charwell Drive. And again, I'm on the same block. Our concern about the amount of money being spent on defending the ZBA. The ZBA could have chosen not to support any arguments towards their decision to support the nursery, so they did in fact support Ben Rathbun. So indirectly, money was being spent on their behalf, on his behalf. So anyway, there's 7 business capabilities at 158, and this is a formal complaint to be read into the minutes about a large-scale commercial landscaping business operating out of 158. The owner has invested approximately $1.5 to $2 million in equipment, and that can be taken off right from social media, from websites pertaining to the business, for an estimated revenue of $2 to $5 million. I mean, I would say $5 or $6 million probably. And he has approximately 6 laborers that use his fleet of 7 Ram trucks. So I have a whole takeoff of all the equipment based on what's advertised on social media. Anything from an Encon tiller, rotator, several different Caterpillars, Caterpillar wheel loaders, land management skid steers, mini excavators, a 10-ton trailer, leaf mount vacuum truck, a 13 LD snowplow, 1,600 square foot heated shop, and with the home office, room for 2 trucks to fit in to be able to be worked on, and a salt shed with salt. A Moorbach chipper and chip box. All of this has been enumerated, and I'll be handing this in. My major concern is both the salt shed, which could contribute to salinization of our water, because he does de-icing in the wintertime and snow plowing. That is not something that's been sealed appropriately and could easily be going into our well water. The second concern is the noise. Obviously, we brought this up before, the traffic. But anyone who's making approximately $5 million can now decide to take that equipment and go lease a commercial lot in a commercial area and get out of our rural residential area. Thank you.
Claudia.
Claudia DeBellis, 265 Charwell Drive. I'm also part of this same group of very unhappy neighbors. Last time we had a meeting, I told you about my encounter with the 10-ton truck that nearly pushed me into the ditch. Now, since that's happened, I noticed that there's a double yellow line that's been put on our street of Hicks, which feeds in, and I'm presuming that's to keep vehicles on their proper side of the road. I I have two requests. I'd like to request that that double yellow line be extended the entire length of Hicks, maybe for safety reasons, maybe coming up to Charwell. The other thing is, due to the massive amount of damage to the road of Charwell and Fancourt, the roads have narrowed. The sides have become very crumbly. It's rather difficult to drive properly. I'd like to request that the highway department repave both of those roads, widen them to the proper width for safety. And I think it's a shame that this has to happen, because when I moved in 9 years ago, I was assured, one, I was moving into a highly rural environment. All I was hearing were peepers and birds. I can't imagine being massively pregnant and listening to this crashing, smashing, and knowing that it's going to continue. And then I'm going to have my little basketball team of 5 boys in danger. They can't play in the street. And the families that used to be out and about with their strollers and kids, they're pulling back. And it's very sad. Another thing that has happened, which has nothing to do with the business, but it does because of the arrogance. Our neighborhood was beginning to have block parties, doing socializing, just getting kind of good and cozy with each other. Because we can't invite this individual, we're now putting the point of, do we continue to socialize and leave him out? Or do we just stop socializing? Also, his child is going to be going to school with other neighborhood children. He's not thinking about the neighborhood and the families that should be together. He's just going, it's my property, I'll do what I want. And yes, you have the right to take your trees down. He's changed our neighborhood from a quiet, rural, birds and peepers to a construction yard, and I am disgusted and disappointed in him, and I'm disappointed in the board that should have prevented this.
I'm sorry.
What?
That's 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Claudia, can you write your requests about the road and send it to Jim Myers?
Sure.
And then you can copy us on it, or copy me. Sure. Thank you. Ann.
My name is Ann Bernstein. I live at 956 South Anson. I'm going to read a letter that I, for the most part, read before because it came to my attention very last minute that there is a ceasefire resolution or something. Well, in support of Gaza, something.
So support of peace is what it is.
Support of peace. Well, I'm going to push for a ceasefire resolution once again because this has been going on since October 7th. So if we talk about disturbances and disruption in daily life, it shouldn't be too hard for people to imagine what it's like living in a 26-mile-long strip of land that is being absolutely, well, most of it's been decimated, and now there's 1.5 million people in the south, and they're being bombed. So, like so many people, I'm consumed with grief and helplessness since the genocide in Gaza and occupied Palestine began. I wake up thinking about it, and first thing, I check to see if the journalists I follow on social media in Gaza are still alive. I think about them and the millions of people suffering under the cruel siege, under the rubble, day in, day out, all day, every day. I also feel really disconnected. I'm searching for my people, and I'm just not finding a lot of them around me these days. Or maybe I don't know them. I'm desperate to make noise on the issue, not just online, but in my hometown, but I'm not sure how. It's not that there's no activism here. A year and a half ago, there was a fundraiser for Ukraine at Stissing Center, headlined by David Byrne, which raised over $100,000. The funds were used for relief and survival supplies. It was glorious to see how much money a small community could raise. I go on to list several other events. I won't do that now, but for Palestine, there have been no signs, no fundraisers, no nonpartisan gatherings, no referenda, and I'm still seeing Ukrainian flags dotted around town. I was recently at a rally in Rhinebeck where I saw the "Hate as no home here" signs being wielded by people which were calling the owner of a business a racist pig simply for being Palestinian. I'm Jewish, and my grandmother fled the Nazis. I attended Hebrew school until I had my bat mitzvah at the age of 13. I carried the scars of anti-Semitism and hate, some from personal experience right here in town, and some inherited. My great-great-aunt, Leonard Schwartz-Neumeier, was an opera singer in Vienna and later in Frankfurt. Her husband and her son were able to escape the United States because her husband had a son from a previous marriage who lived here. But she was not granted a visa and had to stay in Germany. When she met with a banker to discuss her financial situation, which was precarious, her neighbors reported the meeting to the Gestapo. The banker, who was a family friend with several children, was arrested. Fearing for his safety, my great-great-aunt Leonore went to the Gestapo to tell them she and the banker had simply met to discuss her finances. She was immediately sent to a concentration camp and ultimately murdered by the Nazis. I recently Googled her, and to my great surprise, I found some recordings of her singing. She was a mezzo-soprano. It was amazing to hear her voice, a voice silenced by the Nazis.
Sorry, that's 3 minutes in.
All right, I say ceasefire now. Enough of this shit. This is terrible, and this little town should stand up. I worked hard to get a lot of members of this board elected, and I'm...
Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Susan King. I live at 176 Charwell Drive. This is not planned. You've heard our plea. You've heard the reasons for our pleas. I am the neighbor of Angela and Travis. We share the same complaints, fears, etc. All I'm asking is that you've heard all the details. You've heard them specifically, you've heard them from our hearts. All I'm asking is that you do the right thing. Help us, please. Thank you.
Bob, do you think you could take just a minute to explain legally what's next? What the court has,
Yes.
what the judgment
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Because this is part of a process that is not in our hands, but I want everyone to understand where we are in the process.
The process started with Don Smith issuing a notice of violation that was appealed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is the method that someone who disputes
Can't really
it.
hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah. The matter was first appealed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, who upheld the use by Mr. Rathjen. Lawsuit was brought. It's called an Article 78 proceeding by the neighbors. And it was opposed by against the Zoning Board of Appeals and Mr. Rathjen. The town appeared also on behalf of Don Smith, the zoning enforcement officer, who, again in opposition to Rathjen's use. And the matter went to the judge, who issued a decision in April, which basically rejected and found that some issues were not properly presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the court's decision first said that it annulled the zoning board's decision that horticulture use includes landscaping, and it remitted the matter to the Zoning Board of Appeals simply for a determination as to whether Rathjen's accessory use as a nursery and principal use of the property as a residence, which is what is claimed by Mr. Rathjen, is permitted under the Town of Stanford zoning code. And so this matter has been remitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals, who are required now to determine that issue. And so it's a relatively simple issue that needs to be decided by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I gather that it may have been discussed last night. It was in executive session. And it hasn't been determined, but this is something that has to be determined by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And if not determined, it could lead to further legal proceedings, or it could lead to contempt of court, I think. The court's decision expressly did not determine whether the use of the property as a landscaping business is proper. And that's where we are at this point.
Right, that will come next.
That will presumably come next, yes.
The first matter that the court says has to be resolved, they said no, landscaping does not go hand in hand with a nursery. Now the ZBA is charged with determining if nursery is an allowable use.
Accessory use, whether this is an accessory use and an accessory use to the principal use as a residence. In our zoning code, accessory use is defined as a use that's, I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but it's basically subordinate to the residential use.
Can you ask realistically how the ZBA can come up with an objective decision when a member has been a member of that board for 4 years?
I'm not going to answer that. I can't answer that.
I didn't think you could. I don't think anybody can.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak for the first privilege on the board?
Robert Burns, 186 Charwell Drive. I didn't prepare anything tonight, but just from listening. Just want to, make a couple things clear. An accessory use cannot change the character of a neighborhood. Okay? And when Kathy read her list, and the pictures that are on Instagram of Rathjen's landscape company show 4 dump trucks. Okay? You don't have 4 dump trucks unless you're a large-scale business. Okay? I know this because of where I live. I don't see the trucks going up and down the road like everybody else does because I'm further up on the cul-de-sac. Betty and I searched for a home. We spent 2 years looking for a house. We picked this home because we love the house and we love the property. It's at a quiet cul-de-sac. I texted one of my buddies that I grew up with. I said, I can't wait for you to come see this house. From where we grew up, you're going to feel like we're the only people in the world. Okay? That's how much I love the property. If you're tired about hearing about Charwell Drive tonight, imagine how tired I am of every morning of my life, except for Sundays, sometimes on a Sunday, listening to rock piles falling, machines beeping, the smell of diesel in my backyard. See, I hear it and I smell it. And it's constant. She's talking about the truck going back and forth because what they do, and they advertise on their website that they stock their material. So the material is all up in the yard. So these dump trucks are going back and forth picking up gravel and rocks all day long. This is a large construction company. Okay? I run a business too. I run a little accessory business. I'm a small company. There's a big difference. Okay? This is large scale. And by the way, as a kid growing up, where I grew up, we used to play in the street. You know, one of the things that really bothered me about this was last year, one of the neighbors that I haven't met, haven't really seen her since, she came up and spoke at the July meeting, and she said that they had picked out this house, and they have 2 young kids and a dog. She doesn't let her kids play out in the street. Would you let your kids play out in the street if there were dump trucks going up and down the road all day long? Where I grew up, you know, it was a busy area, but it was safe. You know, a car would go up and down the street. We played in the street. Kids can't play in the street on Shorewell Drive. Betty's grandkids are going to come to visit. We won't let them out in the street. Well, we won't let them down the street. Let's put it that way. Can't ride your bike around. Who would ride their bike around a neighborhood with these big trucks coming up and down the road all day? Anyway, I'll be a lot more prepared at the next meetings. I didn't prepare anything to really talk about tonight. But I appreciate the time. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, then. I will make a motion to close the privilege of the floor.
Can I still finish?
No, there's this, your husband can finish reading for you. If you'd like, he can speak, or you can wait until the second privilege of the floor. Okay?
This is my first time.
I know. And I'm sorry.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, some mostly housekeeping here. I make a motion to rescind the appointment of Jean Walsh as bookkeeper.
Second.
You was that, Nathan?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to appoint Deborah Bennett as bookkeeper to start at the beginning of June.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We got the bids all in for replacing the HVAC system. What? Are you laughing at my pieces of paper?
No, I think the limited building.
Oh, yeah. There was a great variety in prices. We have determined, Jane did a remarkable job, as always, of working with our engineering firm to go over the bids, and we can, in good faith, accept the lowest bid, which is with Bettini, for $126,680. We had some changes that we made that we said had to be complied with in order for us to accept their bid. They have adopted all of our changes. And so I make a motion to accept the bid from Bettini to replace and install a new HVAC system. That will be propane fuel.
Second.
All in favor?
Any conversation?
No.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Oh, and that, we will be paying for, we did get a gift of $25,000 to go towards that, but the rest will be paid for out of our building reserve fund. Nathan, number 5.
Yes, this is something that has become a little bit of an annual tradition for me, so I appreciate the opportunity to do this. So we are going to recognize the month of June as Pride Month in the town of Stanford. So the first thing I'll be reading is the proclamation, and then we are also, as we did last year, we're going to raise the flag for a period of 2 days during Pride weekend in town. So I'll be reading that. It's not really a proclamation or a resolution, it's just a statement. So the first one, whereas in the state of New York, the town of Stanford recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2024 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month throughout the town. And whereas Stanford, New York joins the county of Dutchess, the state of New York, and the country of the United States to observe Pride Month to honor the history of the LGBTQ+ liberation movement and to support the rights of all citizens' experiences to equality and freedom from discrimination. And whereas the LGBTQ+ Pride advocates for inclusion and support for social movements that advocate for the LGBTQ+ people in society. And whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. LGBTQ+ individuals have had a measurable impact online for cultural, civic, and economic success of our country and community. And whereas Stanford, New York is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ+ people in our diverse community, and whereas while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ+ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the Stanford Town Board calls upon the people of this municipality to embrace this principle and to work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Stanford's New York LGBTQ+ community, and is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas recognizing all LGBTQ+ residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make Stanford a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit, now therefore it be resolved that the Stanford Town Board hereby proclaims the month of June 2024 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ+ community.
It's a proclamation.
Let's do a second, please.
I will
Okay.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so the second one is regarding the flag raising. So whereas the town of Stanford has recognized and proclaimed the month of June 2024, thank you, as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month throughout the town, and whereas the state of New York in 2022 elected to recognize local Pride Month celebrations by having the LGBTQ+ pride flag flown at the state Capitol Plaza and Governor's Mansion for the duration of the Capitol Pride weekend, and whereas the local Stanford, New York Pride Committee is planning their celebrations for Saturday, June 1st, 2024, and whereas Stanford, New York is committing to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ+ people in our diverse community, and whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Stanford, New York's LGBTQ+ community, and is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now therefore be it resolved that the Stanford Town Board hereby approve to raise the LGBTQ flag at the base of Town Hall Memorial Park for a period of 2 days beginning Friday, May 31st, 2024.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to just say two things. On June 1st, there are two events happening. The Stanford Republicans are hosting a celebration of our vets in the morning at the pavilion, yes? And those is from...
It's listed as 10 to 1, but we are wanting to wrap it up by 12:30.
Okay. And then...
So don't show up late.
And then...
Exactly.
And then, yes.
For the raffle.
Oh, yeah, the raffle. And, oh, that was vicious last year. And then the Pride celebration will be at 1. So Stacy reached out early to Donnie Roberts and the Pride Committee to make sure that there was no overlap and that we can celebrate everybody if we choose to. So I just wanted to make that clear. The other thing I just want to say, to perhaps as an end cap to all of the comments tonight, is that the building inspector will be dealing with the landscaping business as a separate issue. The nursery must get decided. Then there's a whole nother issue, obviously, facing the town. So I don't know if that helps you at all, but that it's not like, as a town board, we don't have the power, the authority to act. But that's the purview of the building inspector, and that will happen. The next item on the agenda is that both the Stanford Lions and the Business Association Flea Market has asked permission to use Town Hall Hill, the front lawn, on June 15th. Are there hours for that, Rita?
8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So I make a motion to have that happen again.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the Altice franchise agreement, which ends in 2027. Altice bought Optimum, we all hate Optimum. We are all unhappy with Optimum. Jen did a little bit of investigation as to what kind of negotiating power we actually have or what alternatives might be. And it's a very binding and difficult situation that we're in. To get another cable company to come in here and lay out cable would be no small feat and would cost a lot. We also looked at certain parts of the contract that could be negotiable, like the amount, the percentage of the profits that we get as a franchise fee, which is capped at 5%. And apparently that's capped at 5%, and that's a according to...
Well, we have 5%, and 5 is the cap.
5 is the caps, but it was according to what source that we learned that from?
Oh, that's legal. I don't know off the top of my head if it's the Federal Communications Act or if it's New York State regulatory.
So what I have gone ahead and done is tried to get an independent citizens group together. We have till 2027 to hopefully find a solution, an alternative, some fixes. And the Honorable Paul Coughlin has agreed to do that. And he has asked for help, and I have requested one additional person to join that effort, and hopefully they'll put their brains together and come up with an alternative. We're 2024, so I wanted to get this rolling now, and I'm glad we have enough notice to hopefully find some relief.
Can I just share something with you? Sorry, because it's germane to that topic. I'm on the phone a lot with Optimum because of my business and because we have such a problem on Millis Lane. So I did, because I'm on the phone with them often about this, I think they finally thought they would send someone to just assure me that there was no real problem. And what the gentleman did find was that, and by sheer happenstance really, because he, after 2 hours, this came to him, he went out to the pole at where my service connects. And it turns out that the line that was there, I guess when the pole had been replaced or something, had been sort of spliced. And he replaced it. I mean, he was there for like another 2 hours until 6 o'clock. This was probably 6 weeks ago, so it was dark. And he finally left, but he said, here's how you run the test. And he even showed my husband, who is like a Luddite when it comes to anything technical. So, he showed my husband how to run a speed test. And honestly, like, it made a huge improvement. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm just saying, if you have the time to stay on the phone and, and make enough of a conversation about it, they will send someone. It might be worth investigating in the short term until we can get a better opportunity, because it did make a difference, at least at our small little place.
Okay, so resolution, we have some quick resolutions to get through, or a few that are quick. Resolution 5A to establish the natural resource inventory grant. We received this grant 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But apparently we didn't go through the technicality of having a resolution to establish it, so that's what this does. Whereas the town was awarded a New York State Natural Resource Inventory NRI reimbursement grant in 2022, whereas the town has now received its first invoice related to the NRI grant, and whereas the town needs to establish for the NRI grant. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes the creation of the new revenue and expense code related to the NRI grant. Be it further resolved, the town board approves the following budget for the NRI project. The estimated revenue is $20,406. The grant reimbursement deposit is $20,406. We will appropriate $20,406. And the contract expenses are $20,406. The town will contribute many volunteer hours and $738 in administrative salaries to the NRA project. The our contribution, I think this means in volunteer hours, is valued at $10,838.
Second.
Any questions?
No. Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
Jenny Secor?
Yes.
To transfer Resolution 5B of 2024, to transfer funds from the American Rescue Fund account New York class ending in 09 and move the funds to the general fund ending in 018. Whereas the town of Stanford will be investing American Rescue Plan funds to pay for the installation of a camera system at the rec costing $4,495. And whereas the New York class account ending in 09, American Rescue Plan Fund contains funds for this purpose. And whereas the town of Stanford will be investing American Rescue Plan funds to pay for infield clay mix 20 tons for the baseball field at the rec park costing $2,285. And whereas the New York class account ending in 09 contains funds for this purpose, whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from New York class account ending in 09 to the Millbrook General Fund account for both of those rec park capital projects. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modification and transfer the funds from the American Rescue Funds account to the general fund in the amount of $6,780.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
Jenny Secor?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 5C of 2024 to transfer funds from the American Rescue Funds account New York class ending in 09 and move the funds to the general fund ending in 018, whereas the town of Stanford will be investing American Rescue Plan funds to pay for the purchase of a 10 by 12 swap shed for the transfer station, and whereas the New York class account ending in 09 contains funds for this purpose, now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modifications and transfer the funds from the American Rescue Fund account to the general fund, and that amount is $4,590.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
Jenny Secor?
Yes.
Okay, so Teddy, would you like to read Resolution 5D?
Yes.
You want to do it? It's going to be easier for you.
Yeah, thank you. So, whereas there are currently...
Well, read the whole title.
Oh, this one doesn't have the title, 5D.
In support of peace.
In support of peace. Okay. So, whereas there are currently violent conflicts throughout the world between various territories and factions, including, but not limited to, Israel and Palestine, Russia and Ukraine, and the civil war in Sudan, and whereas there have been recent local actions, such as municipal support and protests calling for a ceasefire between all bodies involved in these numerous worldwide conflicts, and whereas the town of Stanford has residents who have called upon the town board to support a local resolution supporting a ceasefire for these, among other world conflicts, and whereas the town of Stanford has taken it upon itself to reaffirm itself as a peaceful and caring community that supports open-minded and respectful discourse as a means to conflict resolution and does not support violent conflict that causes harm or death, therefore be it resolved The town of Stanford supports a peaceful means to ending the conflicts in these various battle-sieged territories, ending the loss of lives of innocent bystanders, including women and children, and releasing any and all hostages. Thank you.
Your motion, Teddy?
I will make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Wendy Burton?
Yes, I have struggled with this a bit only because I feel that this is not in the wheelhouse of the Stanford Town Board. That our job is Stanford and taking care of this community. So although I wholeheartedly, literally, daily pray for peace and the end of the conflict and the devastation in Palestine and all over the world, I still had a level of discomfort about this resolution. But at the end of the day, I also feel, at the end of the day, I don't know why I would not vote for a resolution that's in support of peace. And I think that there's nobody I know who's not distressed by the state of the world. And so therefore, I wholeheartedly will vote yes.
Julie Dakota?
Yes.
Eric Ames?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I also believe, like Wendy, that this is not a town governance issue, that this is a international issue. I really applaud you, Teddy, for taking the time and effort in crafting such a beautiful and thoughtful resolution. It's a difficult decision for me, but I still believe that this is not a town issue, so I'm going to vote no, not because I'm not for peace and I'm not for ceasefire and conflict resolution. I just don't think that this is in our purview.
Nathan Virtue?
I'm also going to vote yes, and it's interesting because it's a little bit of both your point of view and your point of view, because I think that the one way that this serves a community is that it's serving the emotional part of the community, and it isn't just the financial duties that we have to behold ourselves to. It's also the emotional characteristics of this town, and I think that the recent weeks of community coming together is evident that there's an emotional tie in this community. And I feel that this resolution is supporting and recognizing that we're not just financial stewards of the town, but we're also have an opportunity to be emotional stewards. So that's why I vote yes.
Teddy wasn't prepared for all this writing. And Teddy Secord.
I obviously vote yes.
Thank you.
So, where are we?
Thank you. I am emotionally distressed, and I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Good night, Annie.
We have to do a roll call for that.
Oh, we do, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You just threw me
The
off.
approval of the minutes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, well, I
because it's a
just hadn't gotten there
resolution.
yet.
No, I was just telling her because I didn't know if she was.
Teddy, okay. Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Julia Dakota?
Mm-hmm.
Eric Ames?
We have to do roll call for the.
Correct?
This is the approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, what are we doing now?
We're doing the
minutes.
approval of minutes. We have to do roll call for
I'm
it.
getting tired, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Minutes. Who made the motion?
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
I'm getting tired.
Me, sure.
Julia did, I think.
Julia did.
Yeah.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
That's what I'm saying, we
much.
can't do, we have to do roll call for the minutes because I have to abstain.
Because he wasn't
Because
here.
I was,
because
because I
you
was,
were in
that's what I was trying
I'll
to
just
say.
put you down.
Look how you,
Or it's fine, that's
look how
fine.
you threw her off.
I'm just trying to help her out.
Call. Okay. I make a motion to approve the April abstract
for 2024.
Oh, that should be May.
Yeah.
You're right, it should be
Yes.
May.
You were wrong.
Day number
Rita
I
Mary.
was.
You had
Okay,
it right
okay.
in the workshop.
Right. So I make a motion to approve the abstract.
I will second that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There is no other, right? Right, so I now make a motion to open the second privilege of the floor, and I invite Kathy Stanley to come up and finish what she wanted to say.
Okay, pick up where I left off. I said that neighborhood property owners should not have to wait. Oh, let me try this thing, if it doesn't fall. Okay. Neighborhood property owners should not have to wage a battle over this when it has been clearly stated by the judge. Furthermore, our roads are not constructed to accommodate Rathjen's heavy commercial traffic. The potholes and heavy cracks attest to the abuse. Yes, our highway department will fix them repeatedly, and we will all pay for that through our taxes. Meanwhile, Ben Rathjen is enjoying the illegal privilege of a commercial business added to his residential property, plus his claimed accessory nursery use, avoiding the taxes of a commercial property. This past March 18th, Tom and I began our 51st year at our address. We've enjoyed the relative tranquility and safety that our neighborhood zoning provided, until Ben Rathjen arrived, got on the ZBA, and persuaded them to allow him to change the complete character of our neighborhood in his favor. Attending the ZBA meeting last night, we experienced a blatant display of complete disregard of the very people they are appointed to serve. It is incomprehensible that they will continue to pursue this course and cost the town yet more legal fees beyond the $35,000 they have cost the taxpayers so far. This situation sets a terrible precedent for the town. I've watched our town forging ahead in many positive ways, but this is not one of them. Don't let this negate any of the good things we can accomplish. Please address and correct this matter as if it were your own neighborhood. I'm also submitting, it's about 5 pages of only 2 weeks of all his trucks. It doesn't include the cars, there's 4 or 5 cars at least that come up every morning and leave at the end of the day, adding to the traffic. Sometimes they're out at different times, but mainly I didn't bother trying to track them. And I know it's not a complete list. It's not even complete because there are half days where we were out shopping or going to a doctor. Sometimes we can see it from almost every window in our house. In fact, I think it is every window. If we actually looked out, we can see the trucks because we're on a terrible curve and it just kind of engulfs the whole thing. But sometimes we're in the shower, sometimes we're in the basement. So we just can't keep track of it all. And at the end, as I conclude, that we finally weren't able to continue doing this. And, spring's a busy time. And really, how much more do you need? This has been going on for months and months and months. And it's horrible. And them, I wouldn't trade places with them for any amount of money. I really wouldn't.
I'm sorry, that's 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine, because that pretty much sums it up. I just hope you'll be able to do something. I know you all understand, and I know you can't resolve it, but you have to know about it.
Could I actually make a quick, talk privilege of the floor moment? Okay.
Yeah, you're not there.
Okay.
You have to be in one place or the other. Okay.
Betty wanted to speak.
Oh, Betty, yes.
So I want to address the second concern I have, which is with the ZBA meeting last night. All the same people who come up to talk, Betty Cosgrove, 186 Charwell, sorry. All the people who've come up to talk about Charwell and the Rathjen's landscaping commercial business going on were at the meeting at the ZBA last night. The meeting went into an executive session, and so they asked us to leave. And then they didn't call us back in, even though we told them we'd be waiting in the hallway. I believe that my confidence in the ZBA has been, I have no confidence. And I do feel like we were treated rather poorly. I've lived in at least 5 other states. I've never seen a ZBA that isn't serving the community first. In this case, it feels as though the ZBA is serving business first over the community, the members who live in this town. And so at the conclusion of last night's meeting, we were out in the hallway, they came out, we asked what was the decision, can we at least come? So the proper way to run that meeting would have been for Kathy Zier to call us back in, tell us they didn't come to a determination, which is fine, that's within their privilege, and then end the meeting. But instead, she tried to chase us out of the building and treated us very poorly. So unprofessional, lack of confidence in the professionalism of the ZBA. And I'm again just making that comment so everyone's aware. There's this prejudicial view going on, whether it's politicized or favoritism to one of their members, we don't know. But we, the citizens of Stanford, haven't been treated well. Thank you.
Jim? Jane Cottrell, 5951 Route 82. Sorry, I have a cold. With reference to item 4 on the agenda, I don't think this is for anybody in this room. In my mind, it's solely for the record. When we went back to the lowest bidder in connection with the HVAC project, Wendy referred to changes, and I want to be crystal clear about what those changes were. None of them were substantive. None. Because we know that that is legally forbidden. What they were, the changes, were clarifications. Things that arose through ambiguous drafting, such as a sentence fragment. Grass seed to be sown and the hole covered up. Well, that doesn't state which of the parties is supposed to do that. So we made it have a sentence. Bottini will do that. And all of those changes were of that nature. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing I wanted to say is that I'm saying that because I did that work, and we made sure that every syllable and every letter of it was in writing. I also wanted to thank you very much, Angela, for what you said and your bravery in saying it, and wish you good luck with the basketball team.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Anyone else?
Travis Christian, 166 Charwell. I just wanted to say that Spark Park has far exceeded our expectations. We were there for the soft opening. We loved it before. It's even better now. I don't know how you exceeded what was there before, Julia, and the rest of the rec commission, but it really is fantastic. And with our basketball team, we really know parks well. We've been to a lot up and down the East Coast, and this is by far the best one. For a small town of, 3,000, 5,000 people or so?
3,800.
3,600? I mean, that's amazing. On a per capita basis, it's probably the best park in the country.
100%.
So,
It is.
I don't know. It really is. Is there anything that can be done to reward the rec commission for this? Can we file for, reward with the feds or with I don't know, is there some type of playground association? We can take pictures of Spark Park
Hall
and
of
show how
Fame.
great it is?
I think we
Make our own.
We can come up with something.
Okay. Well, they deserve it, so.
They do, and wait till you try the zip line.
Yeah, that was the one thing we didn't do because my 1-year-old just wanted to keep going up and down the slide and up and down the slide and up and down the slide.
I think I watched your 1-year-old do that. It was like, what is with this kid?
Yeah, that's it. We're going to be doing a lot of that this summer, so thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
It's the jewel in the crown. Well, if there is no further comment, then I will close privilege of the floor. And Nathan?
make a motion to adjourn the meeting, public meeting, or are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, are we going into executive session?
That's why I asked.
Do we really?
to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
So I make a motion to
I
close
want-
the public meeting.
I just want to thank everybody for their calmness, for their patience, for their passion, for meeting the challenge of speaking in a difficult time with respect and with grace. I thank you very much. I very much appreciate it.
Also,
Second.
If there's any students in the room who need us
Oh,
to
yes,
sign.
come on up and.
See Teddy.
Aye.
Aye.
Just kidding.
I don't mind.
I was kidding.